Well. Thank you for tuning in to the MMA podcast. It is June 17th, 2016, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Maybe the most news-filled 48 hours in MMA history. We had UFC 199, which in itself flipped the world on its head. Michael Bisping, your underdog champion. We had a whole deal with Ariel Helwani getting kicked out, banned for life. Brock Lesnar returning to the UFC. And that's not to mention this week's news. Will Brooks joining the UFC. The UFC, I guess, is about to get sold. UFC Ottawa this weekend. Tons to talk about. Let's do it!
You're listening to the MMA Podcast!
That is right. It is the MMA Podcast. Thank you once again for tuning in. You know, we didn't do a show last week, and I was kicking myself because it was such a crazy week coming off that UFC 199 card, coming off the huge news about Brock Lesnar at UFC 200, coming off the ridiculous news about Ariel Helwani. You know, sort of as far as reporting goes, he's the face of the sport. He's our Adam Schefter, our Adrian Wojnarowski. You know, he's the top guy as far as reporting goes. He gets a lifetime ban, which was later rescinded. I was actually out of town and forgot to bring a special component that goes with the whole setup, and was kicking myself in the butt all week for not being able to do a show. But we are back this week, albeit a little late. We are back, and we're ready to catch up. A lot to catch up on. Joined, as always, by Sweet Pappy Jones on Twitter. It's P-Money coming from the Cali Desert. What's up, dude?
Yes, Big Jake. So stoked to be back on the MMA Podcast with you to get a little something going for all of our fans and followers before the UFC Fight Night card tomorrow in Canada.
That's right.
Fun card there, and as you mentioned, tons of news to go over. My goodness, just running the whole gamut. Glad to be here breaking it down with you.
Ho-He McDonald versus Wonderboy. We'll try and keep it a bit short. We know it's Friday going into Saturday. Probably not the most time for our listeners. Probably going to go out, get a few wobbly pops. Tonight it is Friday. It's the end of the work week. You gotta de-stress, all of that fun stuff. Really quickly, as always, you can visit themmapodcast.com. Hopefully in the near future you can visit that and get some actual up-to-date stories. But as it has been for the last few months, your boy has been neglecting it, not updating the stories. But as always, you can click the tabs at the top to find links to subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, and SoundCloud. And you can get all of those very cheap.
How cheap would that be? Would that be the low?
You can get them for free.
Free 99.
Low. All right. Shoot, man. I don't know where to start with all of this wildness. I guess let's start with UFC 199. Maybe my favorite card of the year, just because, man, the fucking wild fights. You start off with Dustin Poirier and Bobby Green. Dustin Poirier getting a KO there. I think this moves Poirier up into the top 10 at lightweight, and I'm not sure who you give him next, to be honest. You know, I was talking with our boy Alan at Westland Eagle AH, who of course is from the same state. He is Louisiana raised. He, is saying he should get a crack at maybe Nate Diaz next. I don't know if I would go that far. But what about Dustin Poirier versus Anthony Pettis? I mean, after just I mean, he's on a tear. He broke Green in a round. And I'm looking now, yeah, 3 of his last 4 fights are first round KOs since losing to Conor McGregor. Give him Tony Pettis. I mean, shit, I think Dustin Poirier has earned it. He's still young. I mean, God, he's only 27. You look at the lightweight division, pretty much everyone is older than him except, a couple guys. I mean, we might be looking at one of the future faces of, the elite at 55. Who do you want next for Dustin Poirier?
Well, Anthony Pettis would be a great fight for him, and especially matchmaking-wise, since Pettis, I want to say, has lost 3 in a row. Makes sense rankings-wise, but in a piece of news that actually came out, Anthony Pettis is going to be testing the waters at the featherweight division. He's planning to drop down to 145, where Dustin Poirier just left to move up to 155. And funny, too, because I want to say the only fight Poirier lost, well, no, he did lose to Chan Sung Jung, but I want to say he had a really good record at 145, aside from the loss to Chan Sung Jung and I believe Conor McGregor. And now he's tearing it up at the lightweight division. And my goodness, yeah, I was not sure he would be able to beat Bobby Green. I believe I had Green picked to upset Poirier, but man, Poirier proved me wrong in spectacular fashion. It was an excellent showing for Poirier in that fight. He's definitely looking like a beast. You have to give him somebody high ranked after his performances so far.
I'm looking now. We have an upcoming fight in about a month, a fight between Edson Barboza and Gilbert Melendez. I don't think Poirier's fought either of them. Poirier's 9th, maybe a fight against Al Iaquinta. Al is not a slouch at all, coming off wins against Pearson, Lauzon, and Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, absolutely. Iaquinta would be a good fight. Or maybe even Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa,
yeah.
He's got a lot of momentum right now. I want to say he's got, doesn't he have a few, like 5 wins in a row? Or I might be mistaken on that. Maybe
Chiesa,
not that many.
Yeah, he has won a ton in a row. He's won, of course, he's won 3 in a row and is fighting Tony Ferguson at that the main event of that South Dakota card, which I may actually end up being.
Man, well, whoever he ends up fighting, I definitely think it needs to be some top competition. Heck, even if it was Khabib, I don't know if Khabib is slated to fight anybody, but he's coming back from his tune-up fight against Daryl Horcher, so let's get him in there against some real comp.
Yeah. Your next fight, man, won the winner $50,000 for performance of the night. Dan Henderson. What do you say about this guy? 45-year-old Dan Henderson steps in as a huge underdog against Hector Lombard. This was the only fight on the card where I picked against my heart, and apparently I made a mistake, because even though he got rocked a ton in the first round, Dan Henderson walked out in the second round and did what few of us thought he could do, something that had never been done before. He knocked out Hector Lombard with not just the H-bomb, but with a head kick followed by a back elbow. In all the ways I saw this fight going down, I never pictured Dan Henderson, 45-year-old Dan Henderson, landing a head kick to a back elbow to defeat Hector Lombard, but that's the way it went down about 90 seconds into the second round. The place exploded. Dan, of course, being from California, where the event took place, said he might retire, after this and go out in glory. A lot of things floating around about his next move, But what was your reaction when you saw Hendo just unload on a on the Cuban, which in what 40 something fights had never been stopped via knockout before?
Well, my reaction was one of pure joy. Like you, Jake, I did not pick with my heart on this one. I, of course, try to make my fight picks as unbiased as possible. Was really trying to set aside my man crush for Dan Henderson. And as soon as Henderson landed that just hellish back elbow right to the temple, I mean, it was a thing of beauty. And then those follow-up shots, he had some classic follow-ups, a little payback for all the extra shots that Hendo was enduring throughout that bout. I thought to myself, I picked Dan Henderson to knock out Fedor, but picked him to lose to Hector Lombard. And I felt kind of dumb at the time. I mean, of course, this is years removed from the Fedor fight. A lot has happened. Henderson has taken a lot of licks since then, and that was a factor in my decision-making process. And I guess that's one of the beauty things of picking with your head / against your heart is even if you're wrong, your guy still wins. So it's kind of a win-win situation there. And, that was just classic prime Dan Henderson. Reminded me of, heck, even his second fight with Shogun, when Shogun was putting it on Dan really early, and then Dan just, with that Hailmaker H-bomb, putting fools down. And, I would not mind seeing Dan Henderson ride off into the sunset and retire on a sweet W there. Who knows if they would try to put together Henderson versus Bisping too for the middleweight title. I don't think they'd try to do it, but
what are your thoughts on that? Because I was about to ask, what if you heard? I would be so conflicted because I've been ranting and screaming ever since they gave fucking Lyoto Machida the title shot. Since they let Lyoto Machida, everybody has been leapfrogging Jacare, and I feel like a crazy person. Like, everyone said Jacare got a title shot in 2013 when he beat fucking Yushin Okami, and since then he's been leapfrogged by like 5 guys. He got leapfrogged by Lyoto, he got leapfrogged by Vitor, he got leapfrogged by Luke, he got leapfrogged, I guess not really leapfrogged by Bisping because he was offered that spot before Michael and I guess was injured or something. But you gotta feel so bad for Jacare, who has not lost. Yes, he lost to Yoel, but that was overturned because of a failed drug test. Jacare, I feel like, has been the title challenger in waiting at middleweight for like 3 years and still has not gotten a shot. It's driving me crazy. So it would be very bittersweet because as an MMA fan, I don't know of a fan of the sport that doesn't love Dan Henderson, who is a funny guy, rarely talks that much shit, has one of the most devastating knockout reels of all time, one of the most devastating knockouts of all time if you go back to UFC 100 against Michael Bisping. And I feel like Bisping Hendo would maybe be a appropriate way to end Dan's, the one thing standing out that Dan does not have a UFC belt. To see Dan go out one more time, fight for the UFC belt, hopefully, knock out Michael Bisping in similar fashion, and then retire. That would just be storybook. That would be perfect, and it would be a way to cap off one of maybe the top 5 greatest careers of all time. Once you wade through the best of the best, the Fedors, the GSPs, the Andersons, the John Jones, it's very difficult to find a fighter with a more impressive career than Dan Henderson. And, man, as much as I will be upset about Jacare getting leapfrogged, I think Hendo's the one guy where I can, at at this point, the UFC has almost gotten me used to unfair title shots. So, fuck it,
Yeah, it's for me really. Dan Henderson he's only on a 1-fight win streak with his win over Hector Lombard. Before that, he's like 3-6 in his last 9, 2-3 in his last 5. So putting him in there, I mean, he's been KO'd twice by Vitor Belfort, TKO'd by Gegard Mousasi, choked out by Daniel Cormier. He has not been super consistent. It really, unless they were going to make this like a retirement fight for both fighters, I could see both Bisping and Henderson retiring after a rematch if they were ever to do that. And that would really be the only circumstance I would like to see that. Because as you mentioned, I mean, we got Jacare, who should be fighting for the title and should have had a shot some time ago. And he needs to get in there. He's proven to be one of the highest level fighters at 185 pounds. He has looked flawless since coming to the UFC. I mean, it was a very close fight with him and Yoel Romero. But, man, that was an excellent performance. And, yeah, Souza definitely needs to get in there for the title. But, man, you hear things about, them making Bisping versus Weidman or, something other than the Bisping Rockhold rematch. I've really got no clue what they're going to do with this.
I don't know if Rockhold deserves a rematch. I've said it a million times. Show me a champion with no title defenses. I don't care how close it was, unless it was a fight where it was an obvious ripoff. I don't think a guy, Jose Aldo had 8 defenses and he didn't get an immediate rematch. Like,
yeah.
It's funny, I was just talking about the best of the best. This podcast is actually timing out perfectly. I'm tuning in now. Right now, Fedor Emelianenko is about to walk into the ring to fight Fabio Maldonado, like this second in Russia. So I do have an eye on it, and I will update you as soon as Fedor goes over and knocks out Maldonado. But yeah, pretty crazy here. We have the last Emperor about to walk out for the first time in a good bit. So I'll have my eye on that. Let's keep rolling through fights because I know I want to make it a brief podcast. Max Holloway, Ricardo Lamas. What more do you say about Max Holloway, who now has won 8 fights in a row or 9 fights in a row? The first fighter ever to get, I think, 8 in a row without a title, 8 UFC wins in a row without a title shot. Now he has ran it to 9 fights since losing to Conor McGregor in 2013, and you just can't say enough about the dude who's so young, so skilled. His wrestling defense is there. I mean, he makes it look so easy. He's so fluid. This is a guy who we're going to be probably talking about in 15, 20 years as one of, the best because of the skills and, improvements he's made. The guy's absolutely a beast. With 10 seconds left, points to the ground and says, "All right, Lamas, you and me are standing right here for the last bit, and we're banging it the fuck out. No homo." But they do it. It was a great fight. Max won easily. What I think needs to happen, Conor's kind of had the division held hostage since the summer, since beating Jose Aldo. I say, or since last summer, or no, since I guess that was December. I say at some point, when the guy's talking, seems more interested in boxing and fighting up weight classes. I don't know if the guy's ever going to fight at 45 again. I mean, he looks like a dead man cutting to featherweight. So I say just take the belt away from Conor. Make Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar for the undisputed title. And give Max the winner of that fight. I don't think Max should fight again. I think Max's next fight should be for the belt, which sucks because he's still behind two guys in Aldo and Edgar who are fighting for the interim belt. And obviously the next step after that would be merging the two belts. So I don't know if we're going to see the guy need to win a 10th fight in a row before he gets a title shot. But that sucks for Max. Anything else before we get to the two main events, or the two championship fights, rather?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head with the Holloway Lamas assessment there. I mean, yeah, Holloway definitely needs to get that title shot. The run he has put together has been nuts. Lamas is top tier at 145 pounds, and yeah, Holloway has definitely proven he not only can hang, but I think he's proof here that he's one of the best at 145 pounds. And yeah, putting together 9 wins in a row, not getting a title shot. Man, they need to rectify that ASAP. He should not be fighting a 10th fight and not be for the title. Like, I mean, it's not like he's been John Fitching people and just blanketing them. He's been putting on some solid performances. So, yeah, they need to get him in there for a title shot ASAP, even if, like you said, who knows when we'll see McGregor back at 145, if ever. I could see that interim belt that Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar are fighting for becoming the undisputed belt, and then Max Holloway taking on the winner of that match for the undisputed title.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more there. And it looks like this Fedor fight is just about to kick off. So, like I said, we'll see how long it takes before Maldonado goes down. Maldonado does not look like he's on that much steroids, which is a bad sign.
Looking soft, son.
Looking SAWFT soft. A couple haters. Getting back to UFC 199.
We got a couple haters.
Dominic Cruz versus Uriah Faber 3. And I think most of us expected what we saw. Cruz just, give it up to Faber for being even still, he's a very serviceable fighter, and I think he beats just about every bantamweight or featherweight you put in front of him. Just Dominic Cruz is on another level. I think Cruz is, currently, I think Cruz, Johnson, and John Jones are maybe your top 3 pound for pound, just as far as performances go. Cruz made it look easy against the guy it's very difficult to make it look easy against, and gets another win against the only guy who's ever beaten him. So I think he's gotten proper revenge on his only loss, beating Faber now twice since giving him his only black mark. The judges saw it 50-45, 50-45, 49-46. As far as the fight, I don't really know if there's that much to talk about because he just did what we all thought. The footwork, the movement, the punches from all angles, Faber just really couldn't keep up with it. And as far as who's next for Cruz, I don't know. Dillashaw is looking to avenge one of his only losses in Rafael Assunção. Maybe the winner of Dillashaw Assunção. No one's really screaming. I don't know if Garbrandt is quite ready. Maybe he needs another win or two. And that first Dillashaw Cruz fight was so close. I wouldn't mind seeing Dillashaw get another crack at it. Maybe I don't know. What did you think of the fight, and who next? Other than Johnson, which goddamn I would love to see Mighty Mouse versus Cruz. That would be the greatest fight ever, literally. But what did you think of the fight? And like I said, who next for the Dominator?
I thought it was a good showing. I mean, similar to their second encounter, full 25, pretty close fight. I mean, Dominic definitely took it, but they both landed some good shots and hurt each other. I want to say it was the second round. Dominic Cruz got the flash knockdown against Uriah Faber. And, for a lot of people that say, oh, Dominic doesn't have the power in the hands. He wasn't able to get the finish, but he was able to at least drop Faber and, get him to respect those hands. It was really just an excellent performance from Dominic Cruz. And yeah, I think really the Assunção Dillashaw 2 winner probably should get the title shot. I mean, you could probably give it to Cody Garbrandt. We haven't seen him take on a real strong wrestler, to my recollection. But I could see them putting him in there. I mean, I want to say he's got 5 wins in a row in the UFC, which is solid, coming off a super strong knockout of Thomas Almeida. So there's definitely a lot of options for Cruz. The super fight. Got a few contenders. There's been some new contenders popping up at 135 pounds while Dominic Cruz is out. So, there are definitely a lot of different ways to go. But I think probably the Dillashaw Assunção 2 winner would be best up for the next title shot. And we got Fedor, who was just winging blows at Maldonado.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was gonna say the first minute was a lot of Fabio with his back against the cage, hands up, and Fedor unloading flurries of hooks. But it looks like Fabio caught Fedor, is now on the top, and he's putting some damage into Fedor's face. I don't think anyone expected to see. I mean, the announcers, according to Twitter, were saying it was looking like it was gonna end soon, but you got Fabio in side control, and Fedor cannot seem to stop the blows. If I'm the ref, I'm stopping this soon. I mean, Fedor is offering up zero defense. He's trying to scramble, trying to stand up. He's in the same spot he was in when Hendo knocked him out. He's running away. He's on roller skates. He can barely stand up. The ref has not stopped it. Fedor is in a bad way, and Fabio is just walking him down with punches. Fedor looks drunk. The ref needs to stop this soon.
This
is not something that is going to help his
comeback
to
efforts.
Join the UFC. Yeah, I mean, we heard after this maybe he joins the UFC. I don't know if he's going to be able to ask very high. He's covered in blood. This is an insane fight we're watching right now, and it is on UFC Fight Pass. So if you are listening live, and you have Fight Pass, you can go and check it out. It's a EFC event Russian, so I'm sure it'll be easy to Google or YouTube after the fact once the fight's over. Dude, I cannot believe Fedor looks this shitty. Fedor is getting pummeled by Fabio Maldonado. Ooh, he's winging punches Leonard Garcia style now. Both of these guys are fucked up. This is a fun fight. This is almost Griffin Bonner-esque. I mean, both of these boys have taken a wallop in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. Fedor, he's hucking it for the bucket, man. I mean, he popped a solid jab there, but then the wild swings, man.
Another uppercut from Maldonado with Fedor's back against the cage. Feels like whoever's back is against the cage is just getting walloped upon. First it was Fabio for the first minute, and the ref is breaking it up. The ref broke it up to... That was very questionable. As Fabio's landing strikes, the ref breaks it up to help Fedor put his mouthpiece back in. Gotta wonder about that. Only 15 seconds left now, so it's looking like this is somehow going to go to a second round. And I like how this has gone from a UFC 199 recap into a live Fedor breakdown. But man, this is what a wild fight. All right, let's get back to UFC 199 and
the main event.
I said on Twitter I was going to gloat. Your boy told you that Michael Bisping was going to land that first round KO, and nobody believed me. And what did Michael Bisping do? First round KO. And look, if they rematch, I'm probably going to take Luke. Like I said last week or 2 weeks ago or whenever the last show was, Luke's a better striker, Luke's a better puncher, Luke's a better kicker, Luke's a better grappler, Luke is better wrestling, Luke is better jiu-jitsu, Luke is better submission offense, Luke has better submission defense, Luke is faster, Luke is bigger, Luke is stronger, Luke is more handsome, Luke has been on more television shows, Luke's probably got a bigger dick, Luke's been on television more, Luke is funnier, Luke has more friends, Luke is more charming, Luke literally has the advantage everywhere you can compare the two guys. But when I see a champion get that cocky, like a Rousey did against Holm, like a Connor did against Nate, and said, "Oh, this is easy, I got it, it's not even going to be a problem," my eyebrow raises and my sensor goes off, and it's the confident champ sensor. And you know what? This is a sport where you can't get away with taking your opponent for granted. That's exactly what Luke did. Michael Bisping went in there with the perfect mindset, and he caught him, and he dropped him. And 3.5 minutes into the first round, everyone's mouth was wide open because we had a shocker upset and a very familiar face holding up that UFC belt for the very first time. Michael Bisping, he's headlined more UFC events than anyone ever, ends up getting the victory, and he is your new and current middleweight champion. Like I said, I was very happy just so I could gloat on this show about picking him. What did you make of that ridiculous knockout?
Jake, it was so ridiculous. I mean, you're my boy, but I was like, man, Jay Walters is on that base rock, thinking Bisping is going to be rock hold. I mean, you know what? And I must say, I if you go back and listen, your boy gave Bisping a pretty good shake at rock hold. Actually, pretty much since this fight was announced, I've been solid on Bisping, and really thought that his performance against Anderson Silva, if he fine-tuned it, could compete on that level. So I was definitely giving him a chance, and man, it was. I was really happy for Bisping, if I'm being honest. This is a guy. He was the Ultimate Fighter 3 winner, won the championship. And funny when you look at it, the Ultimate Fighter 1, 2, 3, and 4 winners all became UFC champions. Forrest Griffin, Rashad Evans,
Damn.
Michael Bisping, Matt Serra.
Who was the Tough 5 winner?
That was Nate Diaz. That was, I forget. So, I mean,
Next?
hey, Nasty Nate. Hey, he's been close. He's fought for the belt.
Yeah.
I certainly thought he had it in him to be that dude. But it was a great throwback, I thought, just to one of the best eras, really. I mean, when Tough 3 was going on, Tough was still pretty fresh. It was a good crop there. And you know what? I liked Bisping. I liked his style. He impressed me with his flying knee knockout of Ross Poynton on the show. And, I was a fan of his during the tough Team US versus UK. Sure, Bisping got on my nerves. And then, of course, there was a lot of other incidents after that. But, I started off as a Bisping fan, rooted for Hendo like a bastard when he knocked him out. But over the last year or so, I've been coming around on Bisping. So I was glad to see him get that shot. He's another guy. that could probably hang it up in just a couple fights here. I mean, who knows now that he's got the belt what he wants to do? But no, it was a solid what was it, a left hand to the jaw that just put Rockhold down. Some sweet follow up punches to put him unconscious. Bisping was in it to win it, man. He never gave up, and he got it done. I was happy for the Counts for getting that W that Saturday.
Yeah, it was a sweet finish. And you know, we briefly spoke about what next for Bisping. You know, it will be interesting to see if they gift Hendo a title shot, what they do with Jacare, how Chris Weidman comes back from this neck injury. He recently was vlogging. He's obviously teammates with Wonder Boy, who's fighting this Saturday. We'll be breaking down his fight very shortly. Yeah, it was vlogging. He had a big scar on like his throat. Said in the neck surgery went fine. It looked like it. You know, I guess he's like a week removed, and he was like laying on the floor and sitting up and moving his neck around fine without a brace or anything. So here's to a quick recovery for Chris Weidman. Briefly, I do want to before we talk about UFC Ottawa and break down those two fights, I want to talk about Brock. Brock Lesnar, it was announced, will be coming back to the UFC at UFC 200 to face Mark Hunt. I do have a interview. I've never clipped in an interview in post, but we're running a little short on time, so I might insert a Brock Lesnar interview with Paul Heyman that is on YouTube. It's on the Heyman Hustle channel, and I might clip that one in right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and for almost 14 years I have performed with, and for almost 14 years I have worked behind the scenes with, Brock Lesnar.
For about 14 years, most people have heard me speak for him. That's our gig. But this is a totally different realm for Brock Lesnar. This is a return to UFC during their biggest show in history, UFC 200, Saturday, July 9th, from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. So the big question, obviously, first is, why?
Why? Why? I guess because I want to. That's why. And that's the only reason anybody should do anything, right? Because you want to. I know you and I have been friends for a long time. We've been business associates, and you've known me for a long time. You helped jumpstart my career. Now here we are, how many years later? Let's not age ourselves. But why is... I'm sure I'm going to get asked a lot of questions, and that's going to be the main one, but why is because I want to. That's why. When I left the UFC, I didn't get to leave on my terms. And I'm not saying I'm coming back to end something that I didn't get to finish on my terms. I want to be inside the octagon again, and I want to be inside the octagon healthy. I want to be inside the octagon under my terms. When I was inside the octagon my last few fights, I believe I wasn't the man that I needed to be. I was faking it. I was faking it just to be in there. I was faking it that a disease was more powerful than me. I was faking that I was more powerful than it. I want to go back into that octagon. I want to have fun. The lasting memories of me as an Ultimate Fighter aren't very good ones because of the discomfort and the pain and just the unhealthiness of it. And I felt I needed to be in the octagon to beat this disease. And I ended up getting beat by foes that in my mindset I should have never lost to. I lost to diverticulitis. I lost to I'm man enough to sit here and say I lost to Cain Velasquez. I lost to Alistair Overeem. But the losses, I'm not here to avenge any loss other than to avenge a loss that I took against diverticulitis. God, I just want it. I just want it, Paul.
You know, when we wrote your book, we went into great detail about how sick you were, that you almost died at your brother's house in Canada. But here's something that has never been revealed. You were sick way before you even got into the octagon. So this is really the first time the world has ever seen a healthy Brock Lesnar truly compete.
All I know is that life is all about timing, and the timing for me on this just feels right. I feel great, and I'm ready to do this. I'm just ready to do it. I've been ready for a while, and I'm just glad for the opportunity.
You gonna do a training camp?
Absolutely. Am I going to do it? I'm going to do a training camp.
No, but I mean, on your own, or are you going to join another squad?
No, we're going to do this the old-fashioned way, just like we did it before. I'm hiring coaches. I'm hiring training partners, and we're getting geared up already. I mean, it's already put together. I got lots of help. I got lots of people that are excited about this. None of them are more excited than me, and they feel that. They see it, they hear it, and so it's exciting. It's very exciting for me.
Marty Morgan again is your lead coach?
Marty Morgan, yeah, the list goes on. When there's guys that want to be a part of this, and they want to be a part of it not just because they want to be part of it. They want to be part of it because genuinely they're good people and they want to help. And those are the kind of guys that I want in my corner. And like previous years, they were all there for me, and they'll be in my corner again.
How do you approach stepping into a legitimate athletic competition, a fight, differently at 38 than you would in your early 30s?
I don't feel any older. I don't sit here and take myself back into time and wonder how I felt back then. I go with how I feel right now, and I feel really good. And that's all I can really gauge. That's all I can go by. Why would I want to go back and compare myself? I think I've got a statement to make, and I'm going to come into this. I'm approaching this 100%. I'm all in. I'm 1,000% in on this. So I've got lots of support. My family, my friends. It wasn't a hard decision. It wasn't. Dana White didn't call me up for this. I made the phone call. So this is, you can't get into the octagon half-assedly. Nor would I make the call if I wanted to half-assedly get in the octagon, because I'm smarter than that. I know how dangerous it is. It's a dangerous sport. I wouldn't put my health at risk for my family, by no means. My head is in the game on this. I'm 100% all in. All in. No doubts in my mind. No doubt at all.
And again, that YouTube channel to check out that video, and I think there is a part 2. It's Heyman Hustle. And coming off of that interview, it sounds like we have a motivated Lesnar. What do you think happens in this fight against Hunt? Most people are picking Hunt. Hunt is the favorite. Hunt has been active. Hunt is a knockout artist. They did not give Brock Lesnar a walk in the park for his return to the UFC. Hunt may be the hardest hitter in the world at any division. And we all know Brock has sort of a reputation for not liking to get hit. Is he going to get hit and crumble, or is he just going to run through Mark Hunt? I am sort of leaning for the former, but I don't think either would shock me. What are you thinking goes down between the two Titans?
Jake, I've been going back and forth on this one like crazy. I mean, really, there's one of two options. Dang, and these Eurasia Fight Nights ring card girls are not bad. Sorry, I'm distracted. really, it's either going to be, I mean, and anybody could tell you this. This is going to be either a Mark Hunt knockout or a Brock Lesnar knockout via ground and pound, something like that. Or, actually, Lesnar has some good jiu-jitsu skills, and just with his mask, I could see him.
Got his blue belt, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown some high-level chops, and I would not be surprised if he could take it down and get the submission, if not the ground and pound. But really, you have to pick Hunt just because of his activity level, I think. The activity level, he has been winning, and we just don't know which Brock is going to show up. It's kind of like C-level Kane. Is this going to be diverticulitis Brock? And until he gets in there in the ring, I mean, dang, I hope he does well. Man, these are two of my favorite fighters, Brock Lesnar and Mark Hunt. This is just a coin flip fight. I hate picking heavyweights anyways, but I feel like Hunt is going to get a little walk off here at UFC 200. Just too much. He's if Brock Lesnar is the baddest man on the planet, then Mark Hunt certainly has to be co-baddest man on the planet, because those are just two stone cold gangsters, man. I'm a big fan. I have no clue what's going to happen, but it should be fireworks, Jakey.
Fireworks, yeah. I'm expecting the same thing out of two dudes who are very apt to put on entertaining fights. And I guess that rolls us up into UFC Ottawa. I would spend time and talk about the whole Ariel media thing, but it's things we've talked about before. I've talked about how the UFC is, very shady in a lot of the things they do. The way they give out credentials almost makes the independent media an extension of their own PR department, because if you say anything bad, you're going to get your creds taken. Luckily, he got it back, so there's not that much of an issue. Just yet another crack in the UFC's, upper level management. Yet another knock against them, and maybe another reason why we'll probably see the UFC getting sold. I mean, we'll probably be talking about the sale of the UFC next week, the way rumors are floating around. You have WME, IMG, and a Chinese group both bidding over $4 billion for 100% ownership of the UFC, and that is likely to kick in, like I said, in the next week. Let's preview UFC Ottawa, though, and once it happens, I have no idea how that's going to change things. Once it happens, we can kind of start to speculate. I've heard they're going to keep White in, at least temporarily, for the transition. So probably not that much will change on the surface, at least at the start. But it will be very interesting. But let's focus on the here and the now. Tomorrow, Saturday in Ottawa, we got a fun card. Any fights before we break down the main and co-main event? Cerrone, Cote, and McDonald, Wonderboy. Any fights stand out to you? I like Sam Alvey and Elias Thurido. I think Alvey is always a fun underdog to keep an eye on. He's plus 240. Random Marcos, a big favorite over Jocelyn Jones, Liebarger. Tamden McCrory, the Barn Cat, a minus 205 favorite against Krzysztof Jotko. And I will be watching Valerie Letourneau coming off a loss to Joanna Jędrzejczyk, taking on Joanne Calderwood, who's still sort of looking to get some wins under her, and kind of, she had a lot of hype behind her when they made the strawweight division, sort of get some legs behind her and build up a title run. Steve Bossy, a slight favorite over Sean O'Connell. Any fights before we break down the Cerrone and Rory Wonderboy fights?
Yeah, I mean, really, the Ottawa card is pretty stacked from top to bottom. I mean,
Lots of Canucks.
We got And we've got the Puncher King, Ali Bagautinov versus Gianni Herrera in, I want to say, probably like the first fight of the night. So that should be a solid scrap. Randa Marcos, Jocelyn Jones-Lyberger, that should be a good one. Marcos, man, she comes to scrap, as does Lybarger. Certainly going to be a good one there. Elias Theodorou versus Sam Alvey. Both these guys, fun. This is a fun matchup. Both more strikers at the UFC middleweight division. I believe that's going to be the featured Fight Pass prelim. That'll be a good one. Chris Beal versus Joe Soto, solid scrap. McRory versus Jocko. Very excited to see what McRory can do. In his second fight in his second run in the UFC. My goodness, Misha Serkinov versus Ion Kutaleba. Not too familiar, but just good to see light heavyweight division get some action. That seems to be like the most rare division these days. You really don't see a whole lot going on at 205. So I know Serkinov is a big prospect over there. Man, and yeah, the first UFC women's flyweight bout in Letourneau versus Calderwood. Definitely important to note. They've kind of said, yeah, we don't really have any plans for the flyweight division, but we're doing this fight at flyweight. So I'm sure the ladies are very stoked. I know Letourneau came out and said she felt like she was going to die at 115 pounds. And I must say, for everybody out there, I'm just letting you know, Letourneau, she's probably a good bet. I'm taking her over Calderwood. She looked really good against Jędrzejczyk, but Jędrzejczyk with those world champion Muay Thai skills, she was able to just barely edge out Letourneau. But man, Letourneau's a beast. She's got skills everywhere with the grappling, with the striking. I like her a little better than Calderwood. I think she's a more complete package. So your boy P Money said drop a couple ducats on Letourneau. Yeah, definitely solid scraps all the way around, man. It's going to be a good card.
And it looks like we're about to get a decision in Fedor versus Maldonado, where Fedor was a minus 1,000 favorite. It looks like most on Twitter have it 28-28. They gave Maldonado a 10-8 round and Fedor 2 10-9 rounds. Once I see one guy's hand get risen, I will let you know. Let's move to the co-main event, Donald Cerrone and Patrick Cote. Cerrone fighting up. This is his second fight at welterweight. I don't think he has much of a problem with the Predator, who is getting a little bit old. He's 36 in his last few fights. He's beat Joe Riggs, Josh Berkman, Ben Saunders. None of those are animals like Donald Cerrone, and I have Cerrone winning it. Just like Fedor just won it. Not a big surprise there being in Russian. Maybe a little hometown cooking, but Fedor gets the victory there. Just like I have Donald Cerrone winning the co-main event. Who you got?
Oh, yeah, you have to give that to Donald Cerrone. Just like the Russian judges had to give it to Fedor Emelianenko. I certainly thought that was going to be a draw myself. But, yeah, as far as Cerrone versus Patrick Cote, as you mentioned, you look at Cote's wins, Saunders, Joe Riggs, he's beaten people that 6 to 8 years ago, that might have held a little more weight. But, he's a guy on his, fourth octagon run, beating other guys that are on their fourth octagon run. Not super impressive. Where Cowboy Cerrone, I mean, he's just been the buzzsaw, just the UFC's workhorse. The work rate he's put in since coming to the UFC in 2011, completely unmatched. And I really think with his striking prowess, his grappling proficiency, he should be able to handle Patrick Cote for sure. Cote's got heavy hands, and I mean, hey, he's been around a long time himself. Fought for the UFC middleweight title. Certainly no slouch, but not at the prime of his career. He has been looking good lately, but I think Cerrone is going to take this one and have another strong showing at 170 pounds.
Yeah, and Pat, I know you have some obligations, so why don't you give us your thoughts on the main event: Rory McDonald versus Stephen Thompson. Follow him on Twitter at Sweet Pappy Jones. I guess you give us your breakdown, and then you can pop off while I put a bow on the podcast and send it out. Rory, Stephen Thompson, odds are just about even in Vegas. I think Wonder Boy might be the slight. No, now Rory is the slight favorite, -115 to Wonder Boy's -105. Rory has seemed like the number 2 at welterweight for a while, while Stephen Thompson just did what no one's really done since Rick Story, and that is get a legitimate win against Johnny Hendricks. Will he be able to do the same to Rory, or do you have the Canuck winning it here? Give it to the people.
Oh my goodness! Well, this certainly is a tough fight to call, at least for me. And especially after Jake, I mean, we got a little egg on our face for the Hendricks-Thompson call. I mean, hey, we can't get them all right all the time.
Lots.
Well, we were emphatically on the side of Johnny Hendricks, as I believe a lot of people were. But my goodness, I don't know. And I look at this fight and I say, okay, well, MMA math is just a difficult thing. You can't just go on MMA math. I mean, if you were theoretically, Rory McDonald has absolutely no chance in this fight because, well, according to MMA math, Stephen Thompson, he was able to stop Johnny Hendricks' takedowns, NCAA Division I wrestling champion. It's hard to find credentials better than that. So, okay, if he's able to stop Hendricks' takedowns, no way McDonald's going to be able to take him down. Striking, Wonder Boy seems to be light years ahead of everybody in the 170-pound division. So, how are you going to beat him there if you can't beat him on the feet? But as we all know, it's all about the style. Rory McDonald, he's an opponent closer in stature to Wonder Boy Thompson. Wonder Boy is not going to have such a dramatic height and reach advantage in this one. In fact, it should be dead even, I want to say. If not, Wonder Boy holding the most slight of advantages. My goodness, this is going to be a tough one though. And the Matt Brown fight, which I believe is Wonder Boy's only setback in the UFC, that always kind of comes up in the back of my head, and casts some doubt. Oh my goodness! But you know what? Screw it. I'm going with Wonder Boy. He just, with that performance over Hendricks, he has me sold. He's ready to go. I think he's on a mission for that belt, and man, that striking is deadly precise. It really looks to be shoring up all aspects of his game. Rory McDonald is a beast, but I just feel that technically, Rory McDonald was saying he's going to be coming out with more animal instinct, which is great, but Stephen Thompson is coming out with the accuracy of a sniper. If you're, pardon me, you can come out like an animal, but if your opponent has a 50 cal with the scope and he's ready to pick you off from long distance, that animal instinct really isn't going to do a whole lot for you. So I think Wonder Boy is going to put on a wondrous performance and make his case for being the next contender at 170 pounds for the UFC welterweight championships. So I got my Wonder Boy coming through, let's say, late third round TKO.
Pat, as always, it's a pleasure having you on. He's on Twitter at Sweet Pappy Jones. Anything else before we let you go?
Jake, you're a true mensch, brother. It's truly always an honor breaking down the fights with you, sir. Looking forward to all the upcoming MMA action. And God bless you. God bless all the homies, all the fans, all the followers, everybody listening. We couldn't have done it without you.
God bless us all. Pat, and a feature, I think, from Mr. Pickles there I'm hearing in the background. We will catch you shortly.
Take her easy, brother.
And there goes Pat. As far as my own breakdown, we had to let Pat go. He had to go into work early today. Let's see, Rory McDonald and Wonderboy Thompson. As much as like we said, we both adamantly picked Johnny over Stephen Thompson. Got egg all over our face, and I'm going to risk it again, but Rory McDonald is just that dude. His striking is there. I think he's a lot more technical of a striker. He hasn't fought since Robbie Lawler almost a year ago. I don't blame him for that. He took a ton of damage. It was probably very smart to take some time off and let his body and his brain recover from what was the fight of the year. In my opinion, the best fight of all time. I think he steps in with a little bit more technicality, a little more fight IQ than Johnny did, and I have Rory McDonald defeating Stephen Thompson. But, I mean, like you see in Vegas, this is a toss-up. Either guy could win, and, man, you want to talk about the future of welterweight. You have Rory McDonald, who's 26. You have Stephen Thompson, 33, but only 13 mixed martial arts fights under his belt. So, he hasn't really he's never been finished in his kickboxing or MMA career, so he's obviously got a lot of fights still in the tank. These are guys who I could see end up fighting multiple times just because they're both so skilled at 170. But I'm going to go ahead and take Rory McDonald. We'll be back next week to talk about the card we just previewed. We will break that card down, talk about the fights that went down between Cerrone, Cote, McDonald, Thompson. Also, we didn't have time this week to get to the Will Brooks news, but that's very interesting. You have maybe the best fighter in Bellator who is now coming over to the UFC to test his mettle at lightweight. I'm really excited to see Brooks take on the best of the best. 17-1, and he's avenged his only loss against Saad Awad. So looking forward to that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Not used to doing the ending of these shows solo, but yeah, it's just me at the MMA podcast. I did mention on Twitter that we'll in July be doing a West Coast road trip all through Denver and the Pacific Northwest and Yellowstone and South Dakota and Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Chicago. If you are along the way, tweet us and we'll get a beer or something fun like that. Maybe a soda if I have a few 100 miles of driving in front of me for that day. But we appreciate all the love and support the podcast has gotten since day one. Love the shit out of all of you. Like I mentioned at the jump, you can visit themmapodcast.com. Click the links at the top to subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, all of that. And until next week, it's been fun. We gone.
Jake, tune into the MMA podcast every Tuesday night.
Got the wild style, always been a foul child. Will I, sucker? I be the coming like Noah.
The MMA podcast, Jake is the host. And since Ramsey's been in the wheelchair, the Aunt Jimmy show has been on the road. I wanna say John Jones is a host, so I think that I'll pick up the phone and dial 213-457-3380. We got hot takes on the stove. You get blood on your clothes if you're sitting in the front row. I throw on my gi and then I lace the hoops. I'll have Gal lying down cause he ain't the truth. And if Alan